Hello, this is Ashee from Crafting with Ashee and welcome to this paper crafting card making tutorial. This is the lovely card we're making today. It's this toadstool magical little card that says popping up to say hi. Very whimsical magical stamp set, and this is at Terrific Toadstools. I'm going to be using quite a number of the different elements in this stamp set to make our little scene. And I do love toadstools. They're such a little magical, mystical sort of element, and I think it just gives the whole card that sort of magical touch. So we're going to do some ink blending, and here I've got a piece of basic white, and I'm just using some balmy blue, pool party pool party ink, and I'm just putting some colour down in the top sort of third to half of my little piece here of basic white, and I'm just building up the colour gently. You can't really see it so well on the camera as it just sort of blends it out, but the colour is there, and I always try to go with a very light hand. You can always add more colour, but you can't take it away. So I'm just blending here with my blending brush. I'm not applying any real pressure. I'm just letting it move across the paper and slowly building up, I should say, that intensity of colour until I get something that I'm really happy with. And I'm using here my small blending brush because for me somehow I just find I have more control with the smaller brushes than the big brushes, but that really is a personal decision. You can use whichever one you want to use and you're happy to use. So there you go. There we're done with the ink blending. Got a lovely little blend there. So here you can see the colours I'm going to be using. And I've got crumb cake here. What have I got? Poppy Parade, I should say. And I've also got some lemon lime twist. Now we're going to use the lemon lime twist for this little grassy area at the bottom. So I'm going to take that. I've got my simple chamois ready to clean up as I go along. I couldn't live without that. It is an essential tool in my stamping room. I absolutely love it. And you can see here I'm just stamping this across the bottom. I stamped in the centre and then a little bit over stamping on either side, so it looks like a sort of a little grassy bag. Well, that's what I was aiming for anyway. So that's our base, so that our toadstools don't look like they're floating everywhere. And now I'm going to use some crumb cake for my stalks of my toadstools, and I'm just seeing here whether I want to stamp off or first generation or second generation stamping. I've decided to go for first. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's my central image. And then I've got a few more pieces here. And because it's a photopolymer stamp, you can change the direction that you stamp things. You can make them, twist them about a little bit. And then I've got another one here. Just give it a bit of a ink up. And then I'm going to do one last bit there on the end. So there we go. Give that a clean. And now we're ready to stamp all of our toadstools themselves. So I tend to use a block that's just the right size for my stamps. I prefer that, then I get less over stamping. Now, sorry if my head's in the camera there. I just need to get over the stamp so I can really see what I'm doing, and I'm stamping these little toadstools in Poppy Parade ink. I'm stamping these straight onto the cardstock. I'm not having any dimension here. Then I've got a nice big piece for my centre toadstool, and here I am going to stamp this on a scrap piece of basic white cardstock. And I'm not happy with that one, so I'm going to go again. Happier with that. Little clean, and then I've got another one here. Give it a good ink up, hold it down. Yep, I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to bring in my my little scene here, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to stamp this before I put down my toadstools, so that I know I have space for my sentiment, and then I've stamped "You Are Magical," and I think it's just a very apt sentiment considering the toadstools, if you know what I mean. Okay, so just giving myself a little space here. This is the matching punch, and you can see it actually can punch out one of the stalks as well as these two heads. So I'm just going to separate everything here so that I can punch these out properly. And I'm just putting it into my punch, and I always punch from behind so that I can see straight through my punch to see what I'm punching out. And we're going to do that again here. We've got those two pieces. Close up the punch, get rid of those bits. Okay, so now we're ready to start to make our card. Firstly, we need to stamp our rest of our sentiment, and that's again from the same stamp set, and this says popping up to say hi. And I think it's very funny because toadstools do just seem to sprout out of nowhere at times. They just pop up out of the ground. So I think it's just a fun sentiment to go with it. And this card is a very fun, whimsical card. It's not very straight-laced. It's all about having some fun, all the joy, bright, happy colours that I'm using. Okay, so let's clear the decks. I like to clean up as I go along. And then I'm just going to trim the sentiment out using my Stampin' Trimmer, or my Stampin' Up trimmer, whatever you meant to call it. I don't know. I love this trimmer. It cuts beautifully. I've had it for ever since it was first brought out by Stampin' Up, and it has done me well, and I've used it and used it and used it. The blades last. Really happy with that trimmer. I'll sing its praises for a long time. Okay, our card base is Poppy Parade. So there's a standard A6 card base. That's an A4 sheet cut in half and then folded in half. Then I've got a piece here of basic white cardstock that measures 14.35 centimetres by 10. And I've got two of these. One's going to go on the outside and one on the inside. Now, if you want more information about this project, the supply list, the measurements, etc., you will find it all listed and linked on the blog post, and you can find the link to that in the description box below, as well as the links to all my social media. You can find there, so if you want to follow me on different social media, you can find me there. Now, I've got a piece here of the Designer Series paper here, and I think this is Lemon Lime Twist, and I'm going to cut this to measure 13.85 by 9.5. So you'll see it'll give a little matte, you'll have a little matte of the white border around it. So let's stick that down. And this just helps to add to the sort of woodland feel I feel with all this. I don't know what foliage meant to be, but it reminds me very much of ferns. Now I'm going to take our little piece here that we stamped on, and I'm going to mat this on a piece of scrap piece here of Poppy Parade cardstock, and I'm just having a very thin border around this, and that's because I wanted to still fit on my card, and still meaning that you'll see some of that green around it. Okay, so you can see that I've got just a very thin border. Now if you wanted, you could pop this up using some dimensional sheet, foam dimensional sheet, or you could just leave it flat like I've done here. And you can see here why I wanted just a thin border, otherwise you wouldn't see any of the background. Now our sentiment, I'm going to pop this up as well on some Poppy Parade cardstock. For a second I couldn't think of the name, and I'm a great one for matting and layering. I love it. I love the look of having a border or frame on all cards or any kind of artwork or scrapbook page or anything like that. I always feel it looks so much nicer if it is properly framed. Now I'm just using the edges of my dimensionals here. Edges are all good dimension. It's all the same. Don't waste any part of that dimensional sheet. So there we go. And I always am generous with my dimension. I don't want anything to sag in the middle when it goes to the post or such like. So there we go, popping up to say hi. Lovely jubbly. Right, we're ready to put our toadstool heads on, and I'm just going to pop those up again with some dimension. Now I should say, if you're enjoying this video, and I very much hope that you are, I'd love it if you could give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. I'd very much love you to join. If you do make any cards like this yourself, do share them and tag me in at Crafting with Ashee. Alternatively, you can share them in my Facebook group, and the link to that you'll find in the description box below. So we're just going to use some little embellishments here, and I'm going to try and use a little bit of glue if I can to hold some of these down, but they're quite heavy and I don't want them to run away. That glue doesn't want to work, so let's try this one. It's also wanting to not play ball today. Let's try again. There we go. It's capitulated, and these are the brushed brass butterflies. Try saying that very quickly. Sheesh. There we go. But I think they just add that lovely touch of whimsicalness to the card. So there you go. There are the two cards. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye.